although the economics are not necessarily good for the community as a whole, it has provided us some benefit at the time.
Because you were down to what, 8 or less people
Yes,
at
sir.
one time?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have been.
Because we talked to you about getting waiters for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Because even with 20, that's not
That's not
like a huge number if you have,
We've
unfortunately, multiple breaks.
We've downsized that force a little bit, because of the fact that, one, we were having such difficulty employing, and so we tried to utilize some savings there to help with that. But I do want to say thank you to all of you for your consideration and the community's consideration on this, because it's a problem that all the nation is dealing with, and it's been building for decades, and now we're starting to see it. The ductile iron pipe that was made and predominant back in the 60s and before, has lasted a long time, but it's just not going to last much longer. So, thank you.
I think it's worth noting too for the paper and the media and any citizens that these master plans are on the city website, and it's really enlightening for citizens to go in and look at that master plan and see. It's kind of depressing, but it's enlightening to see what we're faced with on this. So it really helps explain the need for increases.
And we really hope those plans help us use our money better now, so that it pays off a lot better down the road.
No, but it's better for council because we see the issue and we can plan.
Yes, sir.
Whereas in the past, it's been, you stick your finger in the air and think, we hope we need 4 million, but it's a guess. Now we know what we need, and it's better for the citizens that we planned it versus guessing, because, we've dealt with, roads is another one.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Could
opposed?
you,
Was that a motion for all three of these?
That's the motion,
combined?
go individually,
Oh, okay.
just to make sure, because I know they have sometimes have to record how we vote on each one.
Okay.
Item 10, consider the approval of the water rate change.
Oh, no.
Any questions or comments?
okay, good.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 11, consider the approval of the solid waste rate change. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12, consider levying the tax for the 2020 tax year, 2021 fiscal year. Ms. Muncy.
Yes, council, again, I'll go through a small presentation regarding our tax rate. Lots of changes happened with property taxes this year due to Senate Bill 2 that was passed by our state legislature last year. So the reason I need the vote today is because we have a 7-day time frame between the time that we set the tax rate at the last council meeting and we took our first vote. So we need our second vote in within the 7 days. So let me start by saying we had our August 4th budget workshop again. We proposed 2 different rates to the council at that meeting. The voter approval rate, which is formerly known as the rollback rate, was at 0.481917. The no new revenue rate, which is formerly known as the effective rate, was at 0.477115. Senate Bill 2 caused this terminology change, and the other thing that Senate Bill did that was critical to local governmental entities is they decreased the amount that we could raise our maintenance and operation rate. Used to we did it by 8%, now you can only do it by 3.5%. And that 3.5% increase is what is known as the voter approval rate, okay? So council chose to implement the no new revenue rate. The 2020 total taxable value certified to us at that time was 10,157,167.07, which was a slight 0.20% decrease from the 2019 tax values. The general fund budget was proposed at revenues equaling expenditures with fund balance remaining steady. So we were able to do the no new revenue rate and still make our budget. Let me go to, Randy, if you will scroll up for me just a minute. So what this did, in the blue over here, you have the 2019 values, and in the white, you have the 220 certified values. And so you can see we had a slight decrease from 19 to 20, that's reflected there. What's interesting is that your real estate values actually increased. Okay, that's your residential people. Your commercial personal property values decreased. That's a lot of the inventory and equipment and vehicles and everything that's owned by commercial entities. We can kind of understand why that happened. Those valuations are due into the appraisal district in April of 20. And we'd already gone into the coronavirus at that time. And so those took a pretty big decrease. So overall, we ended up with a net decrease. And so you can also see there the exemptions that are provided. The city maintained the same exemptions that they've always offered to our citizens, the homestead exemption, the over 65 exemption, and so forth. So our total exemptions make up about 18.5% of the total market value, and that's reflected there. So with adopting the no new revenue tax rate at a 96% collection, we're looking at $46,522,884, which will be split between our maintenance and operation general fund money and our debt service money. And the amount budgeted last year was $46,271,504, so that's a net increase of $251,380. You'll scroll down a little bit, Randy. So in looking at how this affects a homeowner, the appraisal district gives us average home taxable value each year. And for 2019, that amount was $145,216. And at our adopted rate last year of 0.476601, that generated a tax bill of $692.10. For 20, property values for the average home went up to $160,307. And so that's like a almost 10.4% increase in value. With us adopting the no new revenue rate of 0.477115, that proposes an increase of $72.75 for the year for your city taxes on an average home. If we had left the rate at the same amount as last year, it would have been $71.92, so it's like an 80-cent difference. So you can see that the no new revenue rate basically is that. It's just that the value of that home increased, so that tax to that home will be increased for the year. Okay, Randy, if you'll scroll back down to the presentation. Let me see. So again, we met on August 18th. This was held virtually, but we talked about the budget again and the tax rate. We posted the tax rate information out on our website. We had a council meeting on August 25th that was held virtually, but it had a posted public hearing, budget hearing in the OA and on the city website. This budget that was proposed showed the no new revenue rate. We were a zero-based budget for general fund. We had no cost of living increases for employees. Same information. The council voted on a resolution to establish the maximum tax rate at this time, at the no new revenue rate. And it represents a 0.00514 or a 0.11% increase over last year. It's very slight. And the rate increase basically happens because we had a value decrease overall. So typically, to keep revenue the same, if your values go down, you have to have the rate go up. If values go up, the rate will come back down. On September 8th, we had our council meeting. The tax vote was posted in the OA and on the city website. Y'all adopted the budget and you ratified the property tax revenue increase. And you took the first vote on the rate. And so we are here today to have the second vote. And I'll entertain any questions or give you any additional information you might want at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Cindy?
I think it's worth noting and remembering that, we did consider that little higher rate, and that we could have done without taking anything to a vote, and we chose not to do that, specifically because of the environment right now, so.
Absolutely.
Cindy, just as far as homestead exemption is 20% of your appraised value, and then we have the senior.
We
which
have the senior citizen. Let me go. We have the 20% general residential homestead, the senior citizen exemption of $15,000, disabled person exemption of $5,000, and then we have a 5 to 12, depending on circumstances, disabled veteran exemption.
just for my knowledge, the homestead appraised, when you use the homestead exemption, do you also include the over 65 so they get an additional 15% off? Or is it one and?
No, well, if you have the over 65 exemption, the disabled exemption is removed. But other than that,
Okay, any other questions? I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, review and approve the city investment policy and approve brokers, dealers, and financial institutions. Ms. Munson.
yes, council, this item will be on the agenda at the next council meeting next week. We annually are required to take our investment policy before the council for approval. There were no changes in the Public Funds Investment Act during the last year. So we had no changes to the investment policy other than to update the year on the policy. Our approved brokers and dealers are the same as we had before. We had a little bit difference in who the contact person was. And I provided that in paper format for y'all, but it will be on next week's agenda to vote on. And this just merely requires y'all's approval.
Any questions for Ms. Muncy on this item? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Next, item 14, discuss maintenance and aquatic facilities. Mr. Packer.
Mine's not quite as exciting as what Cindy's is, but, and they said 1975 replacement of some old pipes and all. I was like, I just graduated from high school in 78. That's not that long ago.
It's 68.
Oh, yeah. We have $212,000 that is existing in our aquatics account today, and I wanted the council to be aware of a proposal I discussed with Philip and with Michael. This is a pretty major expenditure. The $212,000 that we have budgeted is specifically for our operations contract that we have in place. And since we did not open the pools last year, that $212,000 remain as a line item budget in my current budget. And that is this year's budget, not the upcoming year's budget. And I was notified by our aquatics supervisor the other day, Eddie Vargas, which has been with the city for many years. He's grinning ear to ear, and he says, "I'm going to give you 2 more years, and that's about all I can stand of you." So he's going to be out here in 2 years. And I said, I've got to get some stuff going and make some repairs at the pools while we've got the knowledge and the talent that's on staff, and hopefully we'll replace him in a couple of years with somebody as qualified. But we have $212,000. These are items that we've identified with Eddie. We've gone through the facilities, and there's some improvements that we've listed, and quite a few different items here that are pretty critical to the building and the structure. Those 2 big family aquatic centers were built 18 years ago, which I can't believe that they're that old now. But we keep a fresh coat of paint on them and looking real good and operational. These are items that are just things that really need to be done. Typical maintenance items, but quite a few things that we would need to get done before now in our next season. Hopefully, we will be able to open our family aquatic centers and our swimming pools and spray grounds next year if the numbers are correct and vaccines and everything's in place. We'll make that happen. So our proposal is to take the 212, utilize $20,000 to set aside for the operations, and then the other items will be replacement and repairs that we would use on the facility.
Any questions for Mr. Patrick? Sounds good.
Great. Awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Item 15, discuss City of Odessa Business Assistant Grant Program. Christine.
As you all know, we established the City of Odessa Business Application Program. And we did this, we put a lot of thought into this, and we did it for, to try to reach out to small businesses, what we're kind of calling micro businesses. And those are businesses that, number one, did not get the PPP loan or any other kind of federal assistance, that have 20 or fewer employees and whose gross receipts are $750,000 a year or less. Now, we made the application very simple. We didn't do it, it wasn't designed to be a comprehensive audit of books. Our applicants have to be able to show proof of what their gross receipts are, either via Schedule Cs or a tax return or the deposits in their bank account. We've helped several people figure out what that was, and the grants range from $2,500 to $10,000. So today we've had right at almost 90 applicants. We've had 10 rejects, and the rejects were mostly because they had gotten federal assistance. Several people have gotten upset with us about that because they said they need more money, and we said we understood that the application was very clear, the qualifications were very clear, that we wanted to get to businesses that had not received any other assistance. So the only other requirement is that the business be current on their property taxes, their City of Odessa water bills, and if they have any sales taxes. So we've tried to do due diligence on each one of those. It is only specific to the company, not to the owner. Or other companies that they might have. I know there was an issue with that. One person who had some other businesses that had past due property taxes. That's not our issue. We're only dealing with the one that made the application for the grant. So of our almost 90 applicants to date, we have granted right at $325,000. So we still have $175,000. I drive around and there's just so many small businesses that I know could use this that have not made application. We thought by now we would be finished with this. We actually thought we'd be finished with it in about 2 weeks, that we would be overrun with requests. But, I think word has gotten around. You can tell there's some companies that some types of businesses that you can tell the word's gotten around that this works and it's not that hard to do. But there's still a lot of money left, and we would like to go ahead and finish passing that $500,000 out. So on our committee is Dewey and Virginia Ruiz, and Reverend Shelton has served on it, Mara, Cruz Castillo, and Gavin Norris. So we've had outside, not just council, we've had outside people working on this too. And we'd really, I know we've been doing some advertising, a little bit of Facebook. I know I've done a couple of things. I have no idea if they're showing anywhere. But we do. It's really been successful, but we do still have money. And so we'd like to, that's an update on where we are with it. I'm so proud that we've been able to do this. And I think Michael and Randy will tell you, because they've been such an integral part of this, but everybody that has received money has been so grateful. And remind you that this is a grant, it's not a loan. So, there's no requirement to pay back. And we have we've got about, 80 people that are real happy with us, about 9 that aren't, but about 80 that are. So anything that you can do, any small businesses, we have had a large percentage of our applicants have been Hispanic or Vietnamese. Vietnamese because the nail salons have figured out that this is a really good deal. And, so I think within the community, they've been able to kind of help each other and encourage each other to make these loans. But, so we've reached out to a large, diverse demographic in these loans. But anybody, any little business that you know or see, or, we still have money, and we'd really like to wrap it up. So, any questions?
I'd just like to thank everyone who worked on it. I know, being in business yourself, you hear it from others, especially in your area. And there's a lot of businesses hurting. These businesses are vital for us moving forward, and we keep them, and especially keep people employed. And this is, thank you, Peggy, Reverend Dewey, for all thinking outside the box. And I really appreciate
Mayor's
it.
working.
And Mayor's working.
The Reverend's, he's in a campaign now, so.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Kick him off. Thank
So
you,
we
Mayor.
have Mayor, that's working with us.
Mayor, if I could, I'd like to thank the committee. I realize just how much work this is for the members of the council that are on the committee and those that aren't on the council. This is a real big commitment on their part, because they're having to look at these applications probably nightly or during the day, and there's a lot of paperwork that comes their way. And so recognizing the council is important for me, because I know just what a commitment is. And certainly I'd like to single out Peggy, because I think she's taken the charge, if you will, on this program. And again, everybody that we've come across, you guys don't get to see it, but we actually get to hand over the actual check. And we have folks who cry. We have folks who are in their own language, because sometimes I don't speak Vietnamese or other than Spanish and English. They're telling just us how grateful they are for the assistance that the city has made available. And many of them had commented that if it were not for this program, they would have shut their doors by now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just like to say too that, ditto what everybody else is saying, but boy, it sure does make you feel, a little good when you, like the mayor said, when you see that. But for $1,500, I mean, it would make a difference. And so please, let's try to get the rest of the money spent, because there's still businesses out there who are hurting and who are about to shut and maybe just don't know that they may qualify for some of this. And that little bit, sometimes we think $1,500 doesn't make a difference. I've seen, looking at these applications, that it's been quite literally the difference between staying open and closing. And so thank you for the committee who at first put this money aside and saw the need for it, because it certainly is needed, and the people are most appreciative, most appreciative.
Item 15, I need a motion to go into executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with the attorney. The city council may adjourn into executive session to consider pending or contemplated litigation, reconvene in open session for possible action. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in executive session at 10:58.